Hello! Once again, I am Pythagoras, reading fairy tales. Tonight's tale is the Virgin Mary's Child. And so it begins. A poor woodcutter and his wife lived at the edge of a large forest with their only child, a 3-year-old little girl. They were so poor they couldn't afford daily meals anymore and didn't know how they would provide food for their daughter. One morning, the woodcutter, who was distressed by all this, went into the forest to work. As he began chopping wood, a tall, beautiful woman suddenly appeared before him. She was wearing a crown of shining stars on her head, and she said to him, "I am the Virgin Mary, mother of the Christ child. Since you are poor and needy, bring me your child. I'll take her with me and be her mother and look after her." The woodcutter obeyed her. He fetched his child and gave her to the Virgin Mary, who took her up to heaven. Once there, everything went well for the girl. She only ate cake and drank sweet, sweet milk. One day, about the time the girl had turned 14, the Virgin Mary had to go on a long journey. Before she went away, she summoned the girl and said, "Dear child, I am trusting you with the keys to the 13 doors of the kingdom of heaven. You may open 12 of the doors and look at all the marvelous things inside. But I forbid you to open the 13th door that this little key unlocks." The maiden promised to obey her commands, and after the Virgin Mary had departed, she opened a new room every day and looked into the rooms of the heavenly realm. In each one of them there was an apostle in dazzling light. Never in her life had she seen such splendor, such glory. Then, she finished opening the 12 doors. The forbidden door was the only one left. For a long time she resisted her curiosity, but finally she was overcome by it and opened the 13th door as well. And as the door sprang open, she saw the Holy Trinity, sitting in fire and splendor. Then she touched the flames a little bit with her finger. Don't know why. And the finger turned golden. Quickly, she slammed the door shut and ran away. Her heart started pounding and wouldn't stop. A few days later, the Virgin Mary returned from her journey and asked the maiden to return the keys of heaven to her. When the girl handed her the bunch of keys, the Virgin looked into her eyes and said, "Didn't you also open the 13th door?" "No," she answered. Then the Virgin Mary put her hand on the maiden's heart and could feel it pounding and pounding. Now she knew the girl had disobeyed her and had opened the door. Once again she asked, "Are you sure you didn't open the door?" "I'm sure," the maiden denied, doing it for a second time. When the Virgin Mary glanced at the finger that had become golden from touching the heavenly fire, she knew the maiden was guilty and said, "You've disobeyed me and lied. You're no longer worthy to stay in heaven." All at once the girl sank into a deep sleep, and when she awoke, she was lying on the earth beneath a tall tree surrounded by thick bushes so that she was completely encircled. Her mouth was also locked, so she couldn't utter one word. Since the tree was hollow, she could sit inside during the rain and storms, and it was also where she slept. Roots and wild berries were her only food, and she went out looking for them as far as she could walk. In the autumn, she gathered roots and leaves and carried them into the hollow tree. When snow and ice came, she sat inside the tree. Before long, her clothes became tattered, and one piece after the other fell off her body. So she sat there completely covered by leaves. As soon as the sun began to shine again, she went out and sat in front of the tree. Her long hair covered her on all sides like a cloak. One day during springtime, she was sitting in front of the tree when someone forced his way through the bushes. It was the king, who had been hunting in the forest and had lost his way, and he was amazed to find such a beautiful maiden sitting alone in this desolate spot, covered in leaves. So he asked her whether she would like to come with him to his castle. However, she couldn't answer. Instead, she merely nodded a little with her head. Then the king lifted her up onto his horse and brought her to the castle. Soon he became so fond of her that he made her his wife. After a year had passed, the queen gave birth to a beautiful son. During the night, however, the Virgin Mary appeared before her and said, "If you'll tell me the truth and say that you unlocked the forbidden door, I'll give you back the power of speech, without which you really can't enjoy life. If you are stubborn and won't confess, I shall take your baby away with me." This is the Virgin Mary doing all of these things. But the queen remained stubborn and denied that she had opened the forbidden door, so the Virgin Mary took the little child and disappeared with him. The next morning, when the baby was no longer there, a rumor began circulating among the people that the queen was an ogress and had eaten her own child. Then another year passed, and the queen gave birth to another son. Once more the Virgin Mary appeared before her and asked her to tell the truth. Otherwise, she would also lose the second child. But the queen persisted in denying that she had opened the forbidden door, so the Virgin Mary took the child away from her. The next morning, when this baby was also missing, the king's counselors said openly, "The queen is an ogress," and they demanded she be executed for her godless deeds. However, the king ordered them to keep quiet and refused to believe them because he loved his wife so much. In the third year, the queen gave birth to a princess, and the Virgin Mary appeared before her once more and took her to heaven, where she showed her how her two oldest children were playing with a globe of the earth. Thereupon, the Virgin Mary asked the queen once more to confess her mistake and stop lying. However, the queen wouldn't budge and continued to stand by her story, so the Virgin Mary left her and took away her third child too. Now the king could no longer restrain his counselors, who continued to claim the queen was an ogress. They were certain, and since she couldn't speak, she couldn't defend herself. Consequently, she was condemned to die at the stake. As she stood, tied to the stake, and the fire began to burn all around her, her heart was moved, and she thought to herself, "Now, before I die, I'd like to confess to the Virgin Mary that I opened the forbidden door to heaven. I've been so wicked by denying it all this time." And just as she was thinking all this to herself, heaven opened right up then and there, and the Virgin Mary descended, with the two little sons at either side and the daughter in her arms. The fire was extinguished by itself, and the Virgin Mary stepped forward to the queen and said, "Since you want to speak the truth, your guilt is forgiven." Then she handed the queen her children, opened her mouth so she could speak from then on, and bestowed happiness on her for the rest of her life. And that is the end of this story. Bye!